right. All right, everyone. Give me a minute. I'm going to log on to Teams because we have people that we need to interact with on that uh, network. All right. Okay. So welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to be a part of this Men in Training mentorship group. I am Craig. If you're just watching this for the first time, this is something that we do weekly. We provide information on recovery. And so this group is a support group that's geared towards assisting men, sharpening men, building men up, and to look at the things that we can do better as men. All right. And so that can be on many phases, any degrees, or any aspect of development. And that entails whether it be at your home, workplace, school, if you work at a school, or you're interacting with young people, school, colleges, higher education, et cetera, we have to embrace the idea that we are looked upon as leaders, as men, as someone that younger people, young men can look up to and say, I admire something that stand out about that man, that older gentleman, that maybe I can have a conversation with that older man and that younger person. Maybe we can build a relationship as far as how can we take our professionalism, our skills, responsibilities to the next level of doing things positive and productive. And so without further ado, let's get right into it. And so today's title is Learning How to Embrace and Deal with Emotions in Recovery. This is a mentorship support group, and this article is brought to you that I'm going to be sharing with you by 12 Keys Rehab.com. 12keysrehab.com. And so let's get right into it. So the introduction aspects, it's kind of lengthy, but I'm gonna read it. And so hopefully that you will get something out of it. So brace yourself. So we're going for a educational journey. So the introduction says emotions are the powerful force that make watching a sunrise or experiencing art moving and memorable. They add the warm, fuzzy feeling to a mother's hug and create the calm in getting a puppy that bounds you to that animal. Unfortunately, not everyone experiences the positive side of emotions. There are also emotions that can be dark and scary. Some emotions create that empty feeling inside that you believe nothing could ever feel. Negative emotions can erode your sense of wonder and enthusiasm for life and move you to paralysis. Paralysis. It is these emotions that many people fighting addiction are hiding from. Addiction often develops because substances are used to mask emotions. This may be a conscious or unconscious choice, but the result is similar. That euphoric feeling, the extreme elation over nothing at all, the departure from reality that you experience while taking drugs can keep you from dealing with the real emotions of your life. Trauma is one thing that elicits and overload the emotions that some people cannot process and eventually leads to addiction. Statistics shows that people who experience trauma, for example, are 4 times as likely to become alcoholics later in life. The trauma fills them with emotions they cannot or will not process because they are afraid. The natural outcome is that when the drugs are removed from your system in recovery, raw emotions are there just beneath the surface. In some ways, this is both the most productive and the most overwhelming part of recovery. Addiction recovery programs are designed to help process these old emotions and teach you strategies to deal with new emotions as they arise. It says it is important to learn how to deal with strong emotions in addiction recovery. Let me read that again. The article goes on to say it is important to learn how to deal with strong emotions in addiction recovery. All right, and so the first uh, topic we're going to discuss or share is your brain on drugs. All right. And so I'm from the old school. I remember back in I believe it was in the 80s, or maybe it could have been the 90s, I'm not sure. They had a commercial out and they had a frying pan and they had two scrambled eggs being cooked in the frying pan. And in the commercial would say, uh, this is your brains on drugs. And basically it was, stating that uh, while we are in the addiction phase of our life or stage, a lot of times that's what drugs do to our brain, like frying eggs in a hot skillet or hot pan, whatever. All right, let's talk about your brain on drugs. Substances that create a euphoric high act on brain chemicals. There are chemicals in your brain called neurotransmitters that create your thoughts. Each idea, thought, or sensory response you have is a result of several neurotransmitters moving through your central nervous system. Now, you may say, wow, he's using all these medical terms, but this is a biological aspect. And so we're talking about emotions, also the psychological. And so basically, if you want to look at it from a broader perspective, this is more of a biosocial, 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 biopsychosocial aspect. Biology, psychology, and sociology. All right. And so the article says, let me read that again. Each idea, thought, or sensory response you have is a result of several neurotransmitters moving through your central nervous system. They operate in a complex combination to form thoughts and create emotions. Neurotransmitters are created in your brain, right? And they move throughout your common nervous system on various structures in your brain cells. All right, it says some structures emit these chemicals and other components receive them. The result is contingent on a number of factors, including how much of which chemical is produced and how and where it is received. All right, and so there is a lot going on when you take drugs or you use a whole lot of alcohol. It says drugs operate. So when I say alcohol, most people think alcohol is not a drug. The term alcohol has been defined by the Diagnostic Statistic Manual as a drug. All right. Drugs operate on your brain by getting involved in this delicate communication process. Your brain, like the rest of your body, strives for balance. When it senses too much of a particular chemical, it slows down production or increases production of something else to counteract it. All right, and so there's a stimulant aspect, and then there is you have a stimulant when you use drugs, and then you have what we call a downer. You got an upper and you got a downer. Let's keep it simple. Upper and downer. All right. It says when drugs enter the mix, they either mimic a particular brain chemical or they block your brain from receiving a certain neurotransmitter. This is how they create the high. For instance, if you drink too much alcohol, you may fill the room spinning around you. The room is not actually moving, of course, but the alcohol has interfered with your sensory perceptions and made it seem that way. Hallucinogenic drugs do this in the brain in more specific ways, making you believe you are seeing and hearing things that are really not there. As I mentioned before, this is a mentorship support group, and the reason why we're talking or why I'm sharing this information on drug and recovery because it's so important. A lot of families are being destroyed. A lot of workplaces are being interfered because of people maybe coming to work intoxicated or whatever the place of dwelling may be. Drug is playing a major role in our community and is affecting our institutions. And so, being that we are men and therefore we are part of the society structural system, we must touch on alcohol and drugs. Reason being, a lot of times when we have people that come into our office as participants, a lot of times they may say, "Yeah, I drink a little bit. I smoke some marijuana. I don't do a whole lot of drugs, but yet I need a job." And so we want to help them with their request, and we will help them with their request. But a lot of times we feel the importance of let's get you healthy first. Let's see if we can remove that lifestyle. If there's an alcohol problem or if there's a drug problem, as far as addiction, let's handle that first because we don't want to set you up for failure. We won't want you to go on a job or somebody's workforce and you get hurt or someone else get hurt in the mix. And so that's a lot of other aspects to that, but I just keep it at we don't want people to get hurt. And number one, we want you to be healthy. All right. And so the article goes on and says, while your brain is being tricked by various chemical substances, you are not processing your real thoughts and experiencing the emotions that go with them. When these drugs are removed from your system through medically supervised detox, your real thoughts slowly come back. You remember the trauma and you start to feel emotions related to it for the first time in years, right? These drugs that have been flooding the pleasure centers of your brain with feel-good chemicals are gone. Your brain stopped making its own. Your brain stopped making its own feel-good chemical because the influx. Now you have an extreme low of emotion until your brain can increase its production again. Even when it is backed up and running properly, though, your brain cannot produce the level of feel-good chemicals those drugs were giving you. This requires a major adjustment and results in a lot of negative emotions. Ultimately, you have to learn how to deal with emotions all over again. And so I read this book, I was reading this book, and it was talking about emotional incarceration and how a lot of times if we're not mature enough or trained or taught our response or how to deal with emotional response properly, we may behave in a negative way, if that makes sense. And I believe it does because a lot of times if we're not able to constrain or check our emotions before we respond to a given situation properly or adequately, we may put ourselves in a harm's way. All right. So let's talk about another gaining emotions in recovery. So a lot of times people will gain some emotions, or we may be experiencing some emotions. It says the initial part of recovery, detox, is meant to remove the drugs from your system, right? This is mostly a physical process of simply abstaining from use and watching your vital signs as over time the drug move out of your system. Detox can be dangerous and should always be done under medical supervision. And so, yes, I am a recovery coach, and a lot of times we assist people with detox uh, from alcohol or drug abuse. And we also assist people not only with detox, but also residential treatment where you can begin to uh, get back some vital coping skills so that one can be able to uh, respond adequately. And a lot of times it takes more than 1 month. And so some people may never have to experience that. And some people may need more treatment, more coping skills, more professional help. And so we always support people that's dealing with addiction, substance use disorders, or mental health disorders, because a lot of times there are co-occurring issues that may be involved. And so we like to treat both of them simultaneously and so that they can be effective, especially men, because a lot of times as men, we may be coming from unemployment. We may be coming from incarceration. We may be coming from a whole host of trauma. And so a lot of times, while we call this a mentorship, a lot of times we need to be able to regroup as men and be able to share a lot of life supporting information so that we get back to our rightful roles, right? So it said detox will often lead to withdrawal, which involves physical changes that take place as your body adjusts to the absence of drugs. Withdrawal symptoms can include, we're talking about some symptoms, and that is tremors, vomiting, anxiety, sweating, insomnia, confusion, seizure, fever, hallucination, irregular heartbeat. All right, and said along with these symptoms, emotions tend to creep in during detox as well. It can be very scary to give up the substance that you believe is keeping you alive and keeping you from feeling pain. When these symptoms of withdrawal start, it is common to develop depression and a very gloomy outlook for your future. This is another reason that detox requires medical supervision. When detox is behind you, you will feel a bit more normal. This is when the emotional roller coaster really begins. It is important to remember that recovery is a process, and emotions you feel represent progress along this journey. Although these emotions may be painful and scary to face, with the help of your therapy team, you can deal with them and move on with your journey. All right? Let's talk about how to process emotions. When people hold back emotions for a long time, one thing they fear is that if they let the emotion into their conscious mind, they will never leave. If you be afraid that you start crying, or it says, you may be afraid that if you start crying, you will never stop. It feels like there is this mountain of emotional pain inside of you and you don't dare let go of it. It feels like it could consume you. The other fear is that if you release those emotions, you do not know what you would do to yourself or others. Out of control emotions tend to elicit a physical response. And if you are afraid, if you allow yourself to feel these horrible emotions building up inside of you, you will act irrationally, scream and yell, pull your hair out, attack someone who has hurt you, or just generally go crazy. The thing about emotion that seems kind of counterintuitive is that you have to feel them to get rid of them. Wow. Now that's called getting into real contact with yourself. A basic example is when you lose a loved one. It is natural to feel sad and cry. If you do not cry, that emotion gets stuck inside you and builds. One day you may be in the grocery store and bump into someone and get hysterical. If it doesn't come out, you may begin experiencing physical symptoms. You may develop irritable bowel syndrome, stomach ulcers, or any seemingly unrelated breakdown of your physical health. The emotion you hold inside grows larger and has to come out some way. Wow. This is one way that pent-up emotions can lead to addiction. If you turn to substances to keep you from feeling that emotion, you could become addicted. Then you reach a point where you are just desperate to get more of that substance and maintain your high, and you don't even realize the emotions you are hiding from. One of the problems with this approach of dealing with emotions, other than the extreme health risk of addiction, is that the emotion is still there. When you stop taking the substance and get help for addiction, you still need to process that emotion for this to go away. Well, as I was reading this, I was just thinking about a lot of past trauma, and I didn't really understand early on about the aspect of emotional trauma, emotional pain that one may witness or one may have experienced, and that it's very important to seek professional people for that because a lot of times, like the article says, we have a tendency to pin up our emotions. We really probably don't know how to express them adequately. And we probably just feel that we can just take on the world by ourselves. And a lot of times that's not the case. You know, sometimes we need to talk to somebody. We need to reach out and ask for help. And so it's, in that way, I believe that it will prevent a lot of addiction. And that's why mentorship is so important, because we as men, we was taught as young, I know I was as a young male, you know, that, you know, young boys don't cry, you know, toughen up, suck it up, you know, be tough, you know. And so a lot of time we may be still holding that mentality to this day, and we may still feel that that old saying still apply. And but a lot of times we have to reassure one another it's okay to express yourself. It's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to express yourself. It's okay to share what a person may be feeling as a man, you know. And so once we're able to identify a lot of things that we may be experiencing emotionally, it helps us better to be able to assess the emotion adequately. Okay, because a lot of times we don't not if we're sad, we may not say we're sad. We may just hold the sadness in instead of saying, you know, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling anxiety, and things like that. Those things need to be verbalized. And so what better way to do it amongst men so that men don't feel that they are alone or they less than, okay? And so I just wanted to add my little two-piece in there. Let's talk about another aspect, and that is processing emotions in recovery. Before the raw emotions of past trauma can be addressed and a healthy emotional intelligence can be built, recovery begins with some indoctrination. Specific steps are taken to be sure the client feel comfortable and supported in the treatment environment. Here are some of the initial Concepts that are explored. Education. Clients learn some basic facts about addiction, what it means, how it happens, and how it can be overcome. Learning about the situation in an objective sense can help reduce negative self-judgments that only work against the healing process. Another one concept is hope. By initiation into a therapy group and familiarity with other people's situations where they are in their recovery, clients gain hope. It is important to maintain a sense of hope throughout recovery, especially on the difficult days. Hope, the belief that addiction can be overcome and life can become happy and fulfilled without substances, keeps clients in the program working toward their goal. And that is so true. A lot of people, I think it's a myth. A lot of people say, oh, you can't recover. Oh, once an addict is always an addict. I don't subscribe to that because I believe that you can overcome a lot of barriers with the right help. I'm not saying you're gonna know it all by yourself. No, you have to bounce ideas off each other. You have to be in reassuring setting that you can not only witness, but you can also witness it from on the outside looking in. You can also see other people who have experienced addiction in their lifestyle and it's in the stage of recovery and it's doing fine and it's prospering. And they can show you, give you tools that recovery is possible and it works. All right. Let's talk about another concept to explore, and that is family. The therapeutic group becomes a model family for the participants. All right, we're talking about processing emotions and recovery. So it says the therapeutic group becomes a model family for the participants, and it is used to understand and resolve issues related to family dynamics and the natural family. Family is an important social structure that can provide the support needed for clients to progress through the program in a lasting recovery. Another aspect is universality. Clients see very quickly in the therapeutic group that they are not alone, despite the fact that 23.5 million people struggle with addiction. All right, it can result in a dangerously lonely feeling. Almost everyone who enters rehab feels like their story is unique and no one will understand it. In reality, while there are some differences in addiction stories, there is a lot of similarity. So true. Becoming initiated into a therapy group and hearing everyone else's story will make you understand you are not alone. People are struggling with similar issues right alongside you. And the last concept we want to talk about is altruism. Altruism. Members of the therapy group reach out to help each other. Each person is at a different point in their journey and has something to offer the other who are coming up behind them. Helping others increases your confidence, building you up for the tough work of facing your emotions. Once you are initiated into the therapy program, various therapy techniques are used to help you uncover the root of your emotions. With professional guidance, you will face those emotions a little at a time, exploring the traumatic event that may have started everything. Ultimately, you will learn that something happened in your life that you tucked away in your brain and never processed. You may have been too young at the time to fully deal with the incident, or you may have been overwhelmed by the incident and unable to process all of your emotions. The emotions you have suppressed may not be from one horrible incident. They may have built up over time from a difficult but ongoing situation in your life. There are all sorts of reasons why people suppress their emotions and cover them up with substances. Therapy will walk you through these emotions now at a pace you can handle. With the support of your therapeutic community, I am a person who experienced therapeutic community, and when I first entered the therapeutic community, I must admit that it was all new and foreign to me. But as I stuck in there and began to process the information and was able to learn different languages and be able to identify what it was that I was suppressing or things that I need to unveil so that I can become a better me, a better person. Because one thing you do learn about while you're in the therapeutic community is to keep the focus on yourself. Never shift the blame on someone else, because that takes the focus off you. And so I learned to always keep the focus on myself. What I'm doing, what I've done, or what are the things that I can do. All right. And so it's so important. Program work. If you work, let it work. All right. So let me read from again. It said therapy will walk you through these emotions now at a pace you can handle. With the support of the therapeutic community and the counselors in your program, you can feel the pain of your emotions and then let them go. This is a process that takes time, but you will not remain in the pain of emotional turmoil forever. By diving into this part of your recovery and working hard, you can endure the end. It's not far off. All right. And so if you would like to learn more about this article or what we have shared or what we are sharing, you can go to 12keysrehab.com and you can pull this information. And the title is Learning How to Embrace and Deal with Emotions in Recovery. Say it again. Learning how to embrace and deal with emotions in recovery. And so this is a mentorship support group. My name is Craig. I'll see you until the next time. Take care.